Hello, it's a Nothing But Fishing video.
Shut the front door.
It feels weird saying that because I haven't done it for so long yet again. I think last summer was probably the last one. Bloggers match, most likely. I haven't actually checked, but I think that's probably what it is. And that is coming up next month as well. So there's actually gonna be another video coming from me. And not just that, there's gonna be plenty more coming because the plan is now, and I say the plan is, it's actually set in motion. I've got an actual schedule, a load of list of videos I want to shoot because I've got the backing of my wife. Now, my wife is far more organized with spreadsheets than I am. I'm much more of a see how I feel on the day and go fishing and do that, and it's the same with me through life. She's actually organized this channel through a spreadsheet now, of all things. But before we get on to all those videos and things, a little bit of an update on me in general. Where have I been? Now, you have seen me, well, a lot of you probably seen me through Carpologies. It's not like I've not been fishing or been around. I've just not been doing this channel because in my spare time, it's been a lot going on. In the last 2 and a bit years, not even 2 years, less than 2 years, so the last year and a half, 2 years, I bought a house after living in rental. I've got married. It's not the wrong finger, don't worry, I got married. And done loads on the house. And the latest update, for those of you that don't follow me on social media and everything, is I've got a little baby on the way. So it's going to be a little Curly Joe, or a little Mr. Wooltorton, or Mrs. Wooltorton, I'm not sure. So very exciting, and that's due on Christmas Eve. So quite a lot to do still on the house to get a nursery ready and everything. And that's the one thing that I've been doing a lot of, other than fishing and carpology stuff, is I've been renovating the house with my wife, and that's been pretty hard work and very tiring. For any of you that have ever done this, we've got an old miner's cottage which is about 130 years old. Everything needed doing, from wiring to just wood chip wallpaper. I'm not going to swear because I'll have to beep it out in post, but I've never known something so frustrating in life than wood chip wallpaper. And why was it used on every single wall? Sorry about that, started getting carried away. But yeah, I've been enjoying that as well, doing a lot of building. I've built a whole fireplace myself from scratch, knocked out the old one, built a new one, built in TV, electrics behind it and everything. So that's one of the biggest things I'm proud of. Wood flooring, anything I could turn my hand to, I've given a good try. And it does mean a lot of spare time was used up with that, and still is going to be. There's still a lot to do, especially with the kid on the way. But we're now going to make time for this channel. And as I said, I've got a load of video ideas and lists. But before I get onto that list, comment below the sort of content you want to see. Now, I've asked on Instagram and Facebook, but I'm aware that I've got some people, some loyal followers still on YouTube that don't do social media. So if you've got ideas of what you want to see, please put them below. It doesn't matter if they're duplicates of what I've already heard. It gives me more of an idea of what everyone wants to see. So I'm not going to say what the suggestions are so far, just in case it sways you and you think, yeah, that sounds good, or no. I just want to see what your pure thoughts are on that topic. Now, as you'll see behind me, I've got the admin out of the way, I think, there, haven't I? As you see behind me, I'm back on my Syndicate. And this is actually my first session down here for, I don't know. I don't think I've fished it this year. I may have done one session earlier on in the year. But this is my first trip down since the renewal of the Syndicate. It's July, mid-July. I should know the date as well. It's way too early for me to be claiming having baby brain. But yeah, it's mid-July, and it's my first session since the renewal, and I think it's the first session of the year. So I've got down here, I've chosen Peg 3. It's a swim I've fished many times before, and got the rods out probably a good 3 or so hours after getting here, because I am still doing work here today. I've been filming some bits for Carpology. So once I got some bits done that I could then get the rods out, I did. The right-hand rod went over to the island, which, let's just give this cast a little moment for itself. Oh, that couldn't have gone any better. And genuinely, first cast. Oosh. Oh, what a cast. First one, genuinely the first cast after clipping up. Never normally happens, especially when you put the cameras on. And I thought, that's guaranteed a bite. Then put the middle one out, just with a bait and spoon, some really delicately placed trap, because I'd seen some fizz in, a couple of fish had rolled just off the right of the pads, which are behind me, and then the left one I've put on the other side of the pads just off as well. So I'm covering a vast area in this part of the lake, and there's actually 3 other anglers on, which is very good for this place because it's quite a small venue. If you rock up in one corner and no one else is anywhere else, odds are, unless you're really quiet, the fish tend to push off elsewhere, and you can get the odd bite, of course. I have always done, well, not always, but I have had bites when I've been the only one here. But the fact there's me here, there's someone in 1, which is the other corner, someone in 9, and someone in 6, means there's someone in every single corner of this lake. Now, if you've seen the Syndicate Diaries before, you see I've done quite well on here previously. I caught lots and lots of singles and doubles until I finally jumped the 20-pound mark and caught a 30, and then I had a good run of fish, including one of the lake's biggest residents at the time, which was the Long Common. Sadly, that one passed away last year, I believe, maybe the year before that, due to, I think it's spawning or just age, natural causes. So unfortunately that fish is no longer in here, and that brings us up to speed to where we are today. So as I said, those 3 rods went out, and the right rod was just, do you want to see it again? That was a guaranteed bite, and an hour and a half into the session, that rod was the one that went off, and here is the result of that first fish. This is a belter, and it's a classic cliche fish of, doesn't matter how big they are when they look like this, but really is the case. You're gonna beat me up on the mat? I thought so. Let's give you a quick weigh, if you let me. Out of the way, moth. 18.2. Oh, you are mint. Well, this one came to that perfect island cast. In fact, you're gonna have to see it again. And that is the result. I only heard about 1 beep. I was watching YouTube, if I'm honest. And because I'm fishing locked up pretty much, so they've only got, you can only go left or right, so I'm fishing locked up, so that really sets the hook home. Look round and saw the tip was bent, I was like, oh, pretty sure there's a fish on there. And back to where it used to be on the Syndicate, anything under 20 pound always had my name on it. But that is the first linear I've ever had from here, and absolutely stunning, I think you'll agree. So I'm very happy with that. And it only took less than 2 hours, I'd say, from rods going out to get this one. So hopefully this bodes well for the rest of the 24-hour trip, but if not, what a wicked carp to catch. Show you the other side, it's pristine. And I know it's a mirror, but it really is a mirror image on the other side. A few old spawning marks. The lake was shut last month. It's been open a few weeks now. Probably a month actually since it opened from spawning. So there's a few old spawning marks on them. Oh, what a lovely fish. So good to be back down here. And hopefully one of many for the rest of the year. Thank you, mister. Let's get you back. Hopefully catch your bigger brothers and sisters. So with that fish slipped back, that rod went back out again, and it was even closer the second time. I actually clipped a reed on the way down, and although I probably was fine, and actually reeling it back in proved it was fine, it's just that little bit was niggling in the back of my mind, like, is it caught on a stem? Is it caught on a stem? It wasn't. It came back fine, but I put it back out again, and it went absolutely perfect once again. So really pleased that it's going out nicely, because I've tried to fish that sort of area before with little bags and things, and it can be a bit of a faff, especially from the next swim. I think it's ever so slightly further. But I'd like to think my abilities have grown since then. I'm more used to fishing with 9-foot rods. 9-foots are pretty much what I use all the time now, if I can. These are 9-foot 3-pound dwarfs, for those of you that want to ask, and they're the cork handles. I used to use scope 3.5s, found them too pokey for the sort of venues I went to, so I sold them and bought these instead, and absolutely love them. So if you like 9-foot rods and you think you need to go scopes, don't necessarily. You can get the dwarfs, or if you want scopes, go. I'm going into work mode, don't do that anymore. Now the tactics wise have been pretty much kept exactly the same as what I used to do on here. I went back to basics a fair few years ago, kept it that way, and my catch rate has definitely improved. And this is the rig I had that fish on earlier. Dead simple. It's very much the same as what I caught my fish on previously from on here, but just a few different materials. I'm actually trying out a material from Palatrax at the moment. It's called Steam Link, and it's a, I don't know the ins and outs, but Simon Pomeroy, who runs Palatrax, has been doing a lot of film with them for work, gave me a few bits and bobs to try, so I thought I'd actually would. And it's a really stiff, well, not really stiff, it's a bit of suppleness to it when you steam it nice and straight, but when you strip the coating, it's extremely supple. Like, all the fibres are really fine, and I don't think it's technically a braid. I think that's the difference. It's Dyneema or something, I don't know, but it's really, really supple. I have been using combis quite a lot lately as well with the Gemini booms, and then just a really supple end section. But this does exactly the same job really, but gives a little bit more give in the boom section. But you don't have to tie lots of different knots. You just got a simple knotless knot, a little bit of tubing to hold the hair, a bit of tubing as a kicker, and where the strip section ends, I've then put a bit of putty. Then you've got the steamed section, another bit of putty at the top, and then a doubled over figure of 8 loop knot, which kind of acts as the boom, or the kicker away from the lead. So the hook pattern and everything is really simple as well. It's just a beak point, size 4, really sharp, that I've just shaved the curve of the back of the shank of the point off, because there's a beak point. You can shave that down, and it's something I learnt through Adam penning. Rather than sharpening points, now I don't touch the point, because odds are most hooks come out of a packet dead sharp as they are already. What you can work on is something called penetrative ability, and that's something that I learnt through Adam penning. So actually taking some of the material off the back of the point but not touching the point, because that point will go into the skin like that. Now there's less material that needs to continue to go through until you reach the bar, because I've shaved some of that off. That's something I've been doing in my fishing for the last year or two, and the hook holds have been mega, and I don't think I've lost as many fish, I think, because I'm hooking them a lot better. And I really am paying more attention on the sharpness level of my hooks now, because of how I set up my lead system. Now I'm still using a lead clip and a bit of tubing, because so many venues now are getting rid of leaders and lead cords and things like that. So I've just used tungsten tubing everywhere now, basically. That goes into a tail rubber, and then you put the lead on the lead clip as you normally would. But rather than putting the bung in the lead clip on the swivel so that when you get the bolt effect, that lead comes off, because I don't need to be dropping the leads most of the time, I'm using a semi-fixed setup. So the friction of the swivel goes into the lead clip, and because I've got a really sharp hook, as soon as they try and blow that out and they do the initial shake, that should dig in plenty enough that you then sets the hook. They can't shake it out, but also it then pulls the swivel out of the lead. So whereas some fish get a bit wise and can sit on a spot and blow and suck until eventually they dislodge that hook, because there's no pivot point anymore, that line is running freely through the lead clip because the lead is no longer fixed to that swivel. You find the bites are much different, and I've been using this for the last year or so. The bites almost seem like a bream to start with, you know, you can almost tell the fish is shaking its head on the spot, can't do anything with it because the line's going back and forward through the lead clip, and then they bolt. And I use a really tight clutch now, or very tight as I can get away with, and that's what really sets the hook home. So that's a very long-winded intro. This isn't even an intro, it's just me jabbering, but I guess that's how I've always done these Syndicate Diaries. It's just me talking through my thought process and how I use things. So that's the setup, from rig to lead setup to back here at the tight clutch end. The only other thing to notice is that I'm using really simple baits as well. These are just bog standard out the packet Scope It Squid 15mm boilies, which I've put in a bucket and covered in Scope It Squid spod syrup and left to soak for months really. I know they're shelf life, and some people sort of shy away from that and think they're not good enough. I catch everywhere I go, and it's a nice and soft bait. It makes them really soft once they've been soaked for that long as well. So this is one of the ones that's been on there, and it takes barely any pressure at all to break that up. And it's easy to digest, and proof's in the pudding, because I've caught on Scope It Squid on here for the last few years. That's all I've been using. So that's all I'm going to stick to really, and then topped off with a little bit of fake pop-up corn to add a little bit of counterbalance and also a visual aspect to it as well. It worked an hour and a half into this session. Hopefully it works again before I head on tomorrow. I'm going to finish off this cup of tea. No cider with me today, unfortunately. I've had enough alcohol lately. Just got back from France where we drank copious amounts of wine, so I'm giving my body a little bit of a break. Although when my wife watched this, she'll think, hold on, you had half a bottle of wine and 3 ciders last night before you went on that session. But that's neither here nor there. It's good to be back filming on this channel. If I'm rambling this long without cider, imagine how much I would if I did. Anyway, I'll see you in the morning, where hopefully I'll have either had something else this evening, tonight, or maybe by the morning. I want to unfortunately last night was very quiet. Didn't even have so much as a single beep. Didn't hear anything either out on the lake. I was awake for probably 60% of the night. I just couldn't get off to sleep. So I would have heard if anything happened, but absolutely nothing. And that's continued all morning, and it's now early afternoon. We're still not so much as a beep. So unfortunately, it looks like just the one fish, but I'm very happy with that. The fact I had one early doors, I could have been going over the blank if it wasn't for that beautiful linear. So very welcome. Guy next door on his first trip down as a member has just had a lovely low 20 mid half linear as well. So it was nice to see that. So all round, a very enjoyable trip, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. It is a sign of things to come. I am going to be uploading more on this channel, so I hope you've enjoyed this one. Like the video if you did, and don't forget to comment below on future video ideas you'd like to see from me. That's it for now. Cheers for watching, and see you again soon.